Welcome back. Well, a Sydney family is speaking out after their 11-year-old son was thrown off a Jetstar flight for travelling without an adult, despite being told that he could do so.
So Jack Garland was booked on a flight to the Gold Coast with his 13-year-old sister Scarlett, and their mum Emma took extra precautions to ensure her kids could fly without an adult, calling Qantas, that's who she booked the tickets with.
On departure day, Jack was stopped by a Jetstar crew, questioned about his age and escorted off the flight. Emma joins us now live from Sydney. Emma, good morning to you. That's a nightmare. Tell us about it.
A great day. I really appreciate you having me on this morning to bring this to light, because it was one of the most horrendous days of our lives as a family. Just the fact that Scarlett and Jack were flying on their own for the first time was stressful enough. Yeah, and then to get the call from Jack saying that he'd been taken off the flight and he didn't really understand why.
Was he stressed?
He was pretty inconsolable.
Oh.
Yeah, he was just beside himself. And I, of course, was in Queensland, so as a mother, not being able to be there and console him was fairly traumatic. And as we were trying to understand what was going on and why he'd been taken off the flight, I said to the Jetstar consultant, can you please go and get Scarlett off the flight so at least the kids can be together? And she said, I'm sorry, gates are closed. The flight has departed.
So you've got Scarlett, who's 13, in the air, flying to the Gold Coast, not sure what's happened to her brother or why he's been taken off a flight, and he's left at Sydney Airport on his own.
Correct. Yeah, and no one had told Scarlett what was going on. And by the time she got to the Gold Coast, she was also beside herself, not knowing what had happened to him. And
you'd got permission, hadn't you? I mean, and this is the thing which needs to be outlined, and why they didn't know about that is beyond me. So there's a level of communication that is breaking down here. Describe to us what you did to make sure that you had everything done.
I had originally booked these flights with Qantas, and my husband was on the ticket because he was going to fly with them. He was then called to work in Brisbane, so I rang, took him off the ticket, confirmed it was fine, that they could fly on their own. I also called back because I didn't trust the information I'd been given, confirmed because Scarlett was 13 that it was fine, that she could be on her own accompanying Jack. And turns out that that's not the case. We've got Jetstar having one policy, Qantas having another, and one hand's not talking to the other.
And in the middle of this, first time you've let the kids travel on their own.
First and last.
I bet, because I mean, even just when you're explaining that story, it just that is one of your worst nightmares, right, as a parent.
Well, especially when you've done everything to prevent it.
That's right. Yeah, and so it was left for me to work out a solution. So I waited for Scarlett to get to the Gold Coast and then jumped straight on another flight back to Sydney, where thankfully my in-laws had picked up Jack and were waiting with him. Picked up Jack. It was the long weekend, so you can imagine Sydney Airport on the long weekend.
Well, imagine if you didn't have anyone there that could do that. I mean, it would have been...
What were they going to do with him?
So we asked Jetstar for a statement. It said, quote, it's extremely sorry for the distressing situation and acknowledged our team should have handled the situation better. How would you respond to that statement?
I'd like to know which spokesperson is saying that. I can't get to the bottom of who at Jetstar is actually apologising. There's been absolutely no contact with me. There's been no refund that they keep promising. Every time I call, I get bounced backwards and forwards between Qantas and Jetstar. No one's taking responsibility for who is giving me the refund. To be honest, it's the principle more than anything. I would just like someone to pick up the phone and apologise for what's happened and reassure everyone that this won't happen to another family.
Yeah. How's Jack these days with flying?
Yeah, he certainly doesn't want to fly with Jetstar again.
Well, you know what? Ali's driving up to the Gold Coast at Christmas. He can go with her.
Oh, actually, I need someone between the two kids in the
That's perfect.
Maybe all of a sudden.
And Ali lets them sleep in the car as well. Everything.
Well, that's right.
It's perfect.
Why do we fly?
Look, I think the whole thing is that the airlines have had a tough time, and they've certainly made huge mistakes, and they've certainly done a lot to try and improve it. But that communication is key. You know, especially when you go through something like that. G'day, it's Ali
And Carl.
Thanks for watching the Today YouTube channel.
Subscribe now for brand new videos every day and exclusive bonus clips.
Ali, say please.
Please? Why?
Please. I don't know.